is Lauren Hughes and I am the PBIS coach at Prudence Crandall. I've been creating videos over the last 4 weeks with different strategies to use at home to help combat any misbehaviors you might be encountering. The focus of last week's video was to go through the ABCs steps on how to figure out why your child is misbehaving, also known as the function of their behavior. Hopefully some of you were able to observe your child over the last week to kind of get to the root of why they may be misbehaving. So for this week, we will primarily be focusing on how to combat those behaviors that are trying to get the adult attention in the household. So for this video, I'm going to start by going over some proactive or preventative strategies that you can put in place to help combat this adult attention-seeking behavior, and then I'll get into some of the consequences that you can do once that misbehavior occurs. So for the first proactive strategy, we're going to talk about providing clear and concise directions or rules for your child. So this can be during distance learning or just in general, that the more clear you are on what the expectations are and exactly what it looks like, the less likely you are to have your child misbehave because they know exactly what you expect from them. So this will begin eliminating the need for them coming to you with different questions or whining about when the task is done because they know right off the bat what their expectation is. The next proactive strategy are pre-corrects. This is something I discussed in a previous video, but I'll go over it again what that pre-correct looks like. A pre-correct is simply a reminder to your child about what the expectation is. So say it's a normal rule in your household that you need to be quiet when mom's on the phone and find something else to do. If you know that that's a difficult thing for your child, you might just remind them quickly before you get on the phone so you can eliminate any argument or that behavior potentially popping up. The next proactive strategy is that frequent and immediate behavior-specific praise. I discussed the importance of that behavior-specific praise in another video, but it really is a great strategy because your child knows exactly what they're getting praised for, and it really eliminates any confusion as to what your expectation is. An example of this is if your child is having a really difficult time doing any task independently, and they constantly ask you questions and want you sitting next to them, even though you know they're fully capable, that's an opportunity to build on their independence in small doses. So you might have them start working independently and they get through 2 minutes of independent work. That is a big feat for your child if they haven't been able to do that at all. So it might seem like something that you don't need to praise them for, but to really encourage that independent work without asking you constant questions, you would really want to be very specific with your praise because they were able to do 2 minutes of independent work. So that behavior-specific praise in that moment might be, "I love how quietly you're working all by yourself. Keep it up, Mom is so proud." This will give them your attention in that positive note in a more proactive way as opposed to them feeling like they have to ask you questions or whine to get your attention. And the last proactive strategy I'm going to share is giving yourself opportunities to connect with your child one-on-one. I understand that it's not feasible to spend countless hours one-on-one with your child because of working from home demands or just maintaining your normal household. But just having some time built in each day, even if it's 15 minutes before bed reading a book, maybe after dinner you guys do the dishes together and have a conversation about their day, just providing them that opportunity so they know that they're going to get some one-on-one time with you can make a huge difference. So now we're going to move into how do you react as the adult when your child does begin misbehaving to gain your attention. So I'm going to show you a few strategies of how you as the adult can respond once your child has misbehaved, also known as consequence strategies, to make sure you're not accidentally reinforcing that behavior. So our first consequence strategy is going to be planned ignoring. So the reason why it's called planned ignoring is because it's very intentional. You as the adult know that the behavior that they're exhibiting is really purposeful in getting your attention. So instead of actually giving your attention, you are purposefully ignoring that behavior. Planned ignoring can be used for more low-level behaviors like whining or tapping or just making disruptive noises to try and gain your attention. Or during times when you see your child starting to escalate and you've already calmly told them that you would talk to them once they calm down, This is the perfect opportunity to ignore any continuing behavior. Maybe they continue to escalate and they're screaming, but that's not the time to engage in a conversation. Just continue to repeat your direction and stay calm and ignore any of the behaviors as long as they're safe. Just one reminder I'd like to give when you are utilizing planned ignoring is that it really is only effective if your child knows what the expectation is. So if you're just simply ignoring them and they have no idea what they're expected to do, it can be really detrimental. This can cause a lot of confusion and a rift in your relationship with your child because they feel like you're just ignoring them and they have no idea why. So just make sure that your child does know what the expectation is before you start using planned ignoring. The next consequence strategy is calm and neutral tone when you do redirect your child. So when that planned ignoring is not working and your child continues to do that misbehavior, you will have to redirect them to make sure that they know what your expectation is and to move on with this episode. So this redirection should just be a simple one-line statement of what you want them to do. An example of this is, I need you to calm down and take a 5-minute breather, and then we can talk about what's going on. Or if your child's engaging in one of the more low-level behaviors like tapping or making a small disruptive noise, maybe whining during their work, you can simply state, I need you to work quietly so Daddy can get his work done. It's very quick and to the point and really doesn't give the kid any explanation as to why, because at this point you simply just need them to follow your direction. By getting into that back and forth of explaining why they need to follow your direction really opens them up to potentially engaging in a power struggle and arguing with you. And it's also giving them that extra adult attention that we don't want to be giving in that moment. The time for explanation is really before the behavior even happens, when you're coming up with your rules or expectations, or after the fact once the child has calmed down and they're in more of a place that they can hear what you're saying. The last consequence strategy that I'm going to talk about today is time away from the group. Because the function of their behavior is to get adult attention, you want the consequence to eliminate that adult attention in that moment. When the previously discussed strategies don't work, you might need to move on to something more intense where they are asked to sit somewhere separate from the rest of the household to really regain their composure as well as reflect on their behavior. This can be a designated space that your child goes to whenever they're having a difficult time just to calm down and collect their thoughts, or it can just simply be, I need you to sit at that chair at the kitchen table and calm down. If you don't have a designated space for them to go to calm down, to take time away, and you tell them to sit at a specific chair at your table, just make sure that you follow through on them sitting in that spot that you told them, that they're not choosing the couch or some other spot at the table. This might not seem like a big deal initially, but by them choosing a different spot than the one you told them to sit in, they're showing that they're trying to push that limit and not really following the direction that you're giving. And by having some wiggle room in where that time away space is that you have them sit, might just show that they have pushed that limit and they might try to push it a little further each time. You can also put a time limit on this where you say to your child, I need you to sit quietly for 5 minutes and then we can talk. Or you can just simply wait until your child has calmed down, give them a couple minutes to get their composure, and then have a conversation about what happened. The most important thing is to just not engage with your child while they're not calmed down, or if they're making repeated noises, or if they're continuing the behavior that really got them sent to that time away area to begin with. Because really the most important part right now is that they are able to follow that direction and to calm themselves down before you can talk about what went down. So once they've calmed down or finished the designated time that you have set for them, this is the time to really have a conversation about what caused this outburst or this misbehavior and what can we do differently next time so that it doesn't happen again. This will make sure there's closure on both sides for both the adult and the child, and that there's some sort of problem solving to help eliminate any of this attention-seeking behavior in the future. So these are just a few of the proactive and consequence strategies that you can use to help combat that adult attention-seeking behavior in your child. I hope that you found this useful, and if you have any other questions, feel free to email me. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video.